there's a place to be. In the city heat, there's a place to be. Under the shade of the summer tree, herbs and roots, a magical feast, healing hands.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you had a good day.
It's time to
We'll be starting here momentarily.
Take control back with nature's gifts, set our own track. Samba tree, feel alive, healing breezes, let them thrive. It's time for us, reclaim our use with nature's mix. Find the truth. The scent of sage drifts through the air, whispers to me, handle with care. Herbal remedies, wise and bold, a story untold, waiting to unfold. In our own hands lies the key to nurture.
All right, about another minute. Another minute.
Samba tree, feel alive, healing breezes, let them thrive. It's time.
Make sure you check out the website, sambatree.com.
Nature's mix, find the truth, trust the roots, deep and strong, they'll guide us where we belong. With knowledge in every leaf, in every seed lies relief. Samba tree, feel alive, healing breezes, let them thrive. It's time for us, reclaim our use with nature's mix. Find the truth.
I bet y'all didn't know I could sing a little bit, huh? I could carry a note. I could carry a couple of notes. I specialized in that in school. The teacher would write a note and I'd take it down the hallway. That's about as much note carrying I was able to do in my life. But anyway, good to see you guys. I hope you guys having a wonderful day. Another crisp day here in the beautiful state of Arizona. And yeah, right now I'm looking at 62 degrees out here in the desert. And make no mistake about it, a lot of times people associate the desert with it being hot and trust and know, yeah, it gets hot out here. But when the cold comes, you feel all of it because there are really not a lot of trees out here to stop, you know, some of this. You just feel it raw. It comes right, rolls off the mountain and goes right to your bones. So that's why I've been wearing a jacket and all that lately. I go in and out during the day and still doing a little woodworking. And I've been enjoying it. And I've actually took some time off today. I wasn't feeling 100%. And that's why if you say, why is he chewing? Well, I got a cough drop in my hand, like a throat lodging this thing in my mouth. And taking all that stuff at Samba Tree. I took some black seed oil. About to take some tea. I don't know what kind of tea she cooking up in there. I'm about to have that. Yeah, and I should be good. And the main thing is resting. And that's what I've been doing. So anyway, good to see you guys. And again, I hope you had a wonderful day. Today is Tuesday, January the 14th, 2025. Are you hearing about what's going on over in TikTok land? Well, TikTok, let me see if I could pull this article up for you. Let's see here. I'm going over here. TikTok, as you know, has been, it looks like it's on the out. So far, everything sounds like it looks like it's about to go on the out. And, unless there's some kind of intervention that takes place, because the law is saying that, TikTok is on its way out and people will no longer be able to access it. And let's see here. As soon as I can see if I can find it. If not, I have it bookmarked somewhere else. People, oh, here it is. People have been fleeing TikTok and looking for an alternative. And this is the alternative. And it's called Red Note. Have you guys heard of this? Yeah, it's called Red Note. And it's like a TikTok, but it's supposed to be better. But I think the thing that's really puzzling to me is that Red Note is also owned by China. And or as Trump says, China. It's also owned by China. And people have been flooding this app by the tens of thousands. And now, you know, you got people going on it and all that because it's an alternative to TikTok. And I think what I'm really confused about is the fact that I thought the whole idea, the reason of getting rid of TikTok was because TikTok was owned by China. They're gathering a lot of information off of people, but somehow the app stores are allowing for this app, Red Note, to take its place. So I, on one hand, I do find that very confusing, very interesting, but I would probably say I'm a little more on the interested side than anything else, and a little less on the confusion side. And as we go on in this broadcast, hopefully I'll have some time. We'll talk a little bit more about what's really going on as far as this technocracy that we are entering into. I'm going to tell you about a relationship between the incoming president, President Trump, and Elon Musk. I did a post, I think it was last week, and I talked about Elon Musk, his family, and their ties to a movement that took place, about what, in the 1940s, 50s, or something like that. And it was a technocracy movement. And the movement was basically, what it included was consolidating the United States with Canada, with Antarctica, claiming the Gulf of Mexico, the Panama Canal. Everything that Trump is saying today, it came back all the way from then. And what's his name? Elon Musk family was part of that movement. So this isn't new. And for some of you, you're going to probably be a little shocked to hear there was shared relationship between Trump and Elon Musk. But hopefully I'll get into that, because I'm going to also get into talking about how in this technocracy that we're moving into, there will only be one culture. So all of this fighting that people are doing, particularly black folks are doing, to try to save our culture, and then we're going to gatekeep our culture. You don't even own the gates. Did you hear that? Black people, you do not own the gates. Let me say that again. All the gatekeeping that many black folks are out here on social media land are doing, claiming that they are gatekeeping black culture, you do not own the gates. What do I mean by that? You literally give away everything about the culture on their platforms. The moment you hit the upload button and it goes onto their platforms, they have legal hold on everything that you upload. In fact, the video, the broadcast you're looking at right now, even though it's somewhat mine, I also agreed to saying that, hey, ultimately they can do what they want with the video. So when you upload pretty much all these different aspects of your culture on their platform, they own it. So you can't gatekeep it. If I had the time, I'll also show you some of the things they're doing in AI, like some of these dance videos and stuff like that. They got dance videos right now, AI. You can't even tell. You literally can't even tell. It's quite amazing. And we'll look into that. And what does that mean for black culture or any culture in the future? There's There will be no culture. There will only be one culture, and that will be the culture of the technocracy. And for some of you, that's a hard thing to kind of comprehend, but I'll do the best I can to kind of walk you through it. But I'm just telling you, this is the direction that everything is going right now. So hopefully we have time, we'll get into that. But in today's broadcast, we're going to talk about a couple of things. You know, I try to put, on one hand, I try to put in as much info as possible in these broadcasts. On the other hand, I know if I put too much in it, there's going to be things that a lot of people are going to miss, because you're dealing with a generation today that has a very short attention span. So I've just kind of made up my mind, you know what? I even said, you know what? I'm going to start doing a whole bunch of shorts. So I started doing a whole bunch of shorts, 60-second long shorts. And I will look at the time that people will watch the shorts, 60-second shorts. The average watch time will be like 25, 30 seconds. So no matter how short you make the video, people still just barely watch it. So I said, screw it. I'm just gonna do me, and just whatever falls, it falls. And that's it. And that's what I'm gonna do. But anyway, hold on, let me give me a moment here. So tonight we're going to talk about two things. The first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about a video that I just did recently, or a post I did recently. And in this post, we talked about, I really put a challenge to certain organizations that are out there to ask them, what exactly are they doing as it pertains to Altadena, California, you know, is one of these towns out in SoCal that has meant, you come on, baby, because hold on, y'all. I need to blow my nose. Sorry, y'all. Give me just a moment here. I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna mute it. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. Sorry about that. One of these towns out in the SoCal that caught on fire, you know, due to these fires. I'm probably going to be stopping a little bit here until I get myself together here. So y'all just bear with me. And it just so happens that Altadena is a town that has a significant black population that's been there for generations. Hold on, y'all. Again, I'm sorry. I'm getting it get together, y'all. Hold on. Almost there. All right. I think I got it. All right. I just need something to drink, hot to drink. So there you go. So Altadena, as you know, is one of these towns that unfortunately caught on fire, where you got a significant amount of black individuals who've lost their homes. Now, the thing with Altadena is that it's a historic town, meaning that these black families, many of these black families have been there for generations. And it's not just Altadena. You'll find that also in nearby Pasadena, where I used to live. And when I tell you, I'm very familiar with that area. I'm very familiar with that area. And, but anyway, you know, it just, so unfortunately you have a significant amount of black people who've lost their homes there. Now, one of the next door towns in that area is Arcadia. Arcadia has a significant Korean and Asian population there. And so if you want to kind of know what's going on the ground, one of the ways to do it is just download the KTLA app. And you can just download it and you get streamed real time, all their news and coverage on this. And they've been covering this area quite extensively. That's why I wrote this post like, listen, anybody out here, because I've already saw videos of people, black people, getting up here and saying that they're not giving enough attention to Altadena and all this. I said, no, that's not true at all. They've been talking about it quite extensively. And one of the things they've been highlighting is how people from various communities have been coming together to help these people and to help one another. So you have white people, you have, like I said, in Arcadia, you got a lot of Koreans that have gotten together and they're helping these people, all this stuff. But there are some organizations that I have not seen really mentioned too much, or haven't quite seen them doing anything when it comes to what's going on in Altadena. Now, the reason why I mention that is because these organizations, some of these groups, they will waste no time. Part of their platform is talking extensively about past events that have taken place in Black history, where whole towns, Black towns and communities were wiped out. They will talk extensively about that, things that happened in the past, about different towns that have caught on fire or they drowned, put it underwater and all that other stuff. And so they use these stories from our past as the backdrop for their own narratives. But here in 2025, you have a Black town today where the houses got burned down. There's no, as far as we know, there's no racism that was directly involved. Could have been, but I mean, that would be somewhat of a challenging argument to make, being that Malibu and Pacific Palisades, all of that, they've been wiped out too. And now I heard, and Wynea, you can chime in too, the last I heard was Ventura County, which is north. They're getting it now, but I don't think it's as bad because those Santa Ana winds have been blowing. If you're not familiar with those Santa Ana winds plus fire, if you've never experienced Santa Ana winds and you don't know, you just don't know. That's a bad combination between fire and the Santa Ana winds. That's a bad combination. I've lived through that. And I definitely know what's up when it comes to that. But it's a terrible combination. And so anyway, hold on, let me drink this. So I have not seen these certain groups, like Wynea mentioned, NAACP. Now, to be fair, they might be out there. If you read what I wrote, I mentioned and I acknowledged that you do have some Black people who are out there. It was like here and there, whatever. And I'm quite certain that more and more are going to come in the days ahead. But these particular organizations that I was calling out, I haven't heard them do anything about this. So that's what we're gonna talk about that. And the thing that really bothered me, because most people who read it, they got it, but there was a percentage of people who did read it and they got upset. They read until they got upset and assumed that I was saying Black people weren't doing anything, when that is not true at all. I wasn't saying that. I was saying these particular organizations, and it was a specific reason, which I just explained, why I called them out. And then, but the thing that really bothered me, and it highlighted something, because that's really what I was getting at, because I knew I was going to get this kind of reaction from some people, is the amount of deflection from some people. It's like, well, what are you doing? Why you calling them out and all this stuff? Why you smashing them? Because they do some good work and all this. And I'm like, okay, nobody's talking about the other work that some of these groups are doing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that these groups routinely will point to historic similarity situations. But here in 2025, I hear crickets. Why is that? So we're going to talk about that, but we're most importantly going to talk about this whole tendency that many of our people have, in deflecting, because if we can hold the NAACP accountable, hold them accountable, call them to the carpet. If we can call Biden to the carpet, if we can call the United States government to the carpet, then we can call these organizations as well that we're going to be talking about. We can call them, we can call them to the carpet as well. And no movement is going anywhere unless the participants are willing to take some level of criticism. And when I say criticism, I'm talking constructive criticism. If you're not willing to accept any kind of constructive criticism, then your movement is not going anywhere. You're just continuing what you are claiming that you're replacing, but you're not. You're just you're not doing anything. So we're going to talk about that. Then later, we're going to talk about a video that I came across. I've been telling y'all that, I'm actually considering starting an app. I think I'm going to go. I'm reading what Juanea said. I'm considering starting an app, and I think I'm gonna do pretty good at it. Y'all tell me what you think about this. I'm considering. You ever heard of the app OnlyFans? Yeah, OnlyFans. I know y'all heard of that. We're not gonna do an OnlyFans channel. We're not gonna do that. Okay, we're not gonna have a profile on there. So you ain't gonna find Nicole and I on OnlyFans. You better not, because we ain't on there. But I'm thinking about starting a new one. Y'all tell me what you think about this. I'm gonna call it Only Judgment. I think that's what I'm gonna call it, Only Judgment, because there's a significant demographic that's out here who loves to pronounce judgment, particularly on black people, every chance that they get. And it's almost as if they get some kind of rush off of that. So why not create a platform for them, monetize it, and they can just go to work. And for those that are turned on by making these pronouncements, hey, you have a place. And what it's going to do in this conversation, as we get to that part of this broadcast, we're going to look at what is a death cult. And you're going to be surprised at what the results are. Some of y'all, it's going to really challenge you. We're going to look at the definition and the characteristics of a death cult. And you, as most of you are going to be challenged in your own personal belief systems. And hopefully you'll be left asking yourself, am I part of a death cult? So yeah, we're going to go all the way there. That's why I said in the description, this conversation tonight is for adults only. So if you are one that gets easily offended, or you always listen to things through your emotions, then this broadcast is not for you. I've been watching people unsubscribe simply because they are being challenged about, some of the things I'm saying here. I'm giving them opportunity to express themselves or whatever, but they take off and run. I really don't care anymore. I get to, once you reach a certain age, you don't really care about such things. But truth is truth. And that's what we're going to stand on. And, if you're here, chances are you're here because you want to hear truth. And the truth tellers, regardless of who it is, because it ain't just me, there are many, many people all over the world that do it. But what's not told is that there's a great cost that comes with that. So be it. So anyway, let me mute this for a second, and then we're going to get down to business. Okay, so give me just a moment here. Thank you, Nicole, for the tea. Anyway, let's move on and let's go to this post here that I was talking about. Give me just a moment here. Let me pull this up here. We're going to get down to business here. Oh, if you didn't see this post, make sure you read it. Hold on. Man, this thing is, hold on. I'm trying not to be too gross with y'all but basically things are breaking up. That's all I'm trying to tell you. So I want to go. Anyway, so if you didn't see this post, I'm not going to go through it. Basically, read it for yourself. It's talking about how lawsuits now are starting to come out now by different groups against these toothpaste companies who have been putting fluoride in their toothpaste. I've been telling y'all for a very long time on this platform, you need to stay away from fluoride as much as possible. And I told you that we, at least here on Samba Tree, but there's other platforms. There's other areas too. We're providing a solution. One of the solutions is toothpaste that's all natural and it doesn't have that in it, so make sure you check that out. And also, in Samba Tree, we've been talking about the importance of getting natural spring water, accessing spring water. We've even provided maps on where you can go to get natural spring water. Most of it is actually free. We've been talking about this for years now. So we're not just talking about problems here. We're actually pointing to solutions and helping people to reach those solutions. All right. So we're not just talkers here. So if you're brand new and you think we're just sitting here talking, no, we don't do that. We have a solid record when it comes to engaging and getting and activating into situations and getting other people to do likewise. So let me go through this post here real quick here. And thank y'all again for your patience as I'm kind of working my way through tonight. But I am getting better. It may not seem like it, but I am. I'm feeling better. Let me read to you what I wrote here. All right. I said, for those of you who are claiming that Altadena, California, a town with generational Black American history, isn't getting enough media attention, coverage, please stop. To their credit, mainstream media has been covering all these areas hit by these fires, including Altadena. For those blasting Elon Musk, Elon Musk, he did something here, and I'll tell you in a moment, for sending his Cybertrucks to Malibu to provide power and internet instead of Altadena, you need to stop as well. Many of y'all called this man racist, but think you're going to be first in his line. That's not defending him as a person. That's just stating the facts. Besides, for people who completely lost their homes, power and internet will not help anyway. What I don't see is an FBA, and this is Foundational Black American, Black Indians, they have their own organization, Black Christian Apologists, and the reason why I mention them is because they have been heavy on YouTube as of late. I mean, literally, and I'm just going to be raw here, humping the leg of Wes Huff and thinking he's like some Superman. And they have been all up on this dude. Hebrew initiatives, talking about Hebrew Israelites, addressing this issue at all. And then I went on and said this. FBA raised close to $2 million for a whole comedy club in LA. Let me say that again. FBA, and when I say FBA, let's be clear here, and I will clear it up real quick for people. FBA raised close to $2 million for a whole comedy club in LA. All the smoke for defending hip hop online, going after tethers, referencing old Black towns that were wiped out in the past. But here you have one in 2025 and no FBA Voltron movement for these folks. Harold, go sit down somewhere because we're talking solutions now. But before you get to the solutions, you got to get rid of the talkers like yourself out of here. So you gone. All right. So goodbye, because you're not here to provide anything at all, period. It's not about disagreement here. If you were writing incomplete sentences and providing some solutions, That would be a great addition to this conversation. So you need to go sit your whole behind down. That's what needs to happen now, okay? So goodbye. Okay, so let's move on. I said, but in 2025, and no FBA Voltron moment for these people. As far as the other groups mentioned, in the midst of black folks losing their homes due to fire, most time is spent online debating each other over more quote unquote important issues like Fat Joe or is this God's judgment or not, etc. Now, I want to be very clear here for a second. I want to be very clear because you can spend all that time going after, if you are on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These people, number one, FBA, and I'm just talking FBA for a moment, and then I'll get to ADOS in a moment. And I'm going to say that I'm going to talk about the difference between the two. All right, so I'm not just talking. All right. FBA and ADOS, both of these organizations are two different organizations. Number one, we need to be clear when we're talking about these two organizations. These, number one, what I just said, these are organizations. Not every black American is an FBA. Just like not every black American is an American descendant of slaves, because both of these organizations are registered organizations. That's like me saying the KKK, every white person is a member of the KKK, because the KKK claims to be fighting for the rights of all white men. But it doesn't mean that all white people are part of the KKK. So likewise, when you look at, and I'm not saying that, you know, the KKK, you know, they have a violent history and all that stuff. So I'm not comparing their actions with the FBA or ADOS. I'm not doing that. I'm just bringing them up to show you, here you have an organization that claims to represent the whole, but in reality, they don't. They just use the whole as a cover. When you look at the actions of these FBA people online, you will see that a lot of energy is put into name calling, talking about people, doing all this other stuff, right? That is non-productive. It is not building anything. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so what they do is that they focus on calling these different groups out. While we do understand that there does need to be a delineation between Black Americans versus, you know, people from the Caribbean, Africa, and all of that, we understand in principle the importance of that. But where it is going now, most decent Black Americans will not engage in that activity. They will not. Because we're not about that. Most Black Americans ain't about that. Most Black Americans don't live on Twitter. Most Black Americans have relationships under fair and clear relationships with Black people from all over. But what has happened is this movement tends to speak, tries to speak at least, for all Black Americans, say that all Black Americans are on board with this. And that's not true. And this individual here, She Cooks and Roast, I want you to stay on because there was a comment that you left that I do want to talk about as well, okay? Nobody's going to be beating up on you at all. I just want to talk about the comment that you left, okay? So I want you to make sure that you stay on and hang in there with me, okay? All right. So you got FBA. Now you got ADOS, which is American Descendant of Slaves. Now, to their credit, ADOS tends to stay focused on the main thing, which is mainly dealing with from a political, legislative, whatever angle when it comes to addressing reparations, which I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. I mean, regardless if you agree with the argument of reparations or not, I don't see a problem with that at all. I don't. And I think the leaders of ADOS have done a pretty good job trying to stay to the best of their ability above the fray. Now, I may have some disagreements with ADOS on some things, But I can put that to the side and say, you know what? When I stand back and I look at these two organizations, I can see that one does stand out as they're at least trying to keep things respectful. They're organized. They're doing things. They got chapters all over the place. So for that, I'm saying hats off to them for that. You understand what I'm saying? And good for them. And may they continue to go and do great things on that. But the point in this post so far that I'm pointing out is that both organizations have a heavy presence in SoCal, Southern California. Both of them do. You got one that put in almost $2 million in a comedy club. Then you got the other, they do raise up money to do whatever they do out there. I don't know exactly what they do, so I can't really speak too much on that. But I know they're just a functioning organization. They raise up money to do whatever the activities they do. But what I'm saying is, in either case, because I checked both of them, I haven't seen any action saying, listen, we need to come together and let's get up here and mobilize and let's get these people whatever it is that they need, because that's our people at the end of the day. We need to do this. I haven't seen any of that. And the things I haven't seen, I was willing to put in here. I said, hey, listen, if they are doing something, put the links down so we can see it. You understand what I'm saying? So any criticism that I was saying towards FBA or ADOS, it has nothing to do with what their missions are. With the FBA, the missions all over the place. ADOS, I have no issue with what their mission is. Their mission is very clear. I have no mission with that. But for anybody, but the problem that I see a lot of times that black folks do, particularly in these two groups, is that they want to assume that all black people are FBA, black Americans are FBA, or just like they want to assume all black Americans are ADOS. That's not true. These are two different organizations, and not all black Americans are part of those organizations. They may address some of the needs of black Americans, but they do not represent all black Americans. They do not. They are, at the end of the day, they are organizations just like the NAACP. That's an organization too. As much as they may say they're speaking for all black Americans, you and I both know in reality, they're speaking for their own interests at the end of the day, right? So you have to see that as such. And so that's what I was addressing with individual, the She Cooks and Roast, what I was saying in your comment. Number one, I appreciate you listing out the other organizations that are out there that are doing something. Great. That's good. But the purpose of the post wasn't to just do that. The purpose of the post was me addressing and calling out these organizations and saying, what are they doing with this? What are they doing in this situation? And I hope you guys, I may sound repetitive here, but I don't know about you, but when it comes to black history, when it comes to our history, I take it very seriously. And so when people are talking constantly, pulling up about our history, about our towns and villages and whatever that we built, and then they got burnt down, and they keep bringing it over and over again and making it as a case for whatever their agenda is, I'm down with that. But we're in freaking 2025, and we got a live action example in front of our faces, and I haven't seen them address any of this. And it's not just this. We talked about what went on in Conyers, Georgia. One of the biggest chemical accidents that's happened in recent years in a county that's made up of mostly black folks, Rockdale County. While FBA is making jokes, the organization of FBA was making jokes on social media, they weren't talking about this. They weren't organizing and saying, we need to go down there and we need to help these people. They weren't organizing. Fat Joe is the one we got to attack. And I would say the same thing about the organization of ADOS, the same thing. So don't tell me that you're for, the protection of black folks and, and how we need to look at our history and preventing history from repeating itself and all this other stuff. But then when it happens in real life in 4K right in front of you, you just automatically, there's nothing to be said. Nothing. There's nothing like, okay, we got to come together. We got to do this or that or whatever. Nothing. That was my point. All right, so let me go ahead and finish this out, and then we'll get into the more deeper things on this, okay? What did I say? I'll just start off here. I said, as far as the other groups mentioned, in the midst of black folks losing their homes due to fire, most time is spent online debating each other over more important issues like Fat Joe is this God's judgment or not, etc. And by the way, FBA and ADOS, they have a very long history of going at it hard at each other. So how in the hell can we expect these organizations to lead any kind of initiative in restoration when they both hate each other? See, these are factual things that I'm bringing up, but when you bring it up, the fanboys and girls, they get mad. Well, you brother, you can't be talking about them like that. At least they out here trying. They hate themselves. They hate themselves. They hate each other. That's what I'm trying to get viewers and readers to pay attention to, because we have to be able to hold each other accountable. We can bring all the fire and smoke to Democrats, to Republicans, to white people, but why is it that we are so quick to deflect when it come time for us to analyze and to look at what we are doing versus what we're not doing? And so anyway, let me just get this done so we can move on. What I do see is the neighboring town of Arcadia, large Asian population, coming together and giving away food and water, etc. We just highlighted at least 2 black men. Very sure there are more out here that are doing what they can. I also saw some black folks who suffered loss still out here helping others. Again, mainstream media covered all of this, not seeing it in new black media. Not seeing this at all. Not seeing new black media, those that call themselves new black media, and you know who these people are. Those that call themselves new black media, where is the initiative to come together and say, you know what? Let's pull our resources together and make sure these people are taken care of. Because let me tell you something, what is about to go down when it comes to Southern California, and it ain't just it's not just I was gonna say Arcadia. It's not just this town. It's going to happen all over this country. Do you remember at the beginning of this broadcast, I said, we are heading to a future where there will only be one culture, and it will be a technocracy culture. So we have to make sure that we are partnering together with people that have a shared interest in protecting that which we do care and value about. And I'm telling you, these black folks who unfortunately in Altadena who lost their homes, it's going to be a long road for them to get back to some kind of home for real. That property up there is way too valuable for them to, okay, we just going to go back and just rebuild the same homes. They're not doing it. That ain't happening. That's not happening. And the amount of red tape that's going to be thrown their way, and a lot of those people, is going to be disgusting. And so either we can sit back and complain and talk about how racist Trump is and he's not doing anything to help these people, or doggone it, we can get off our black behinds and begin to start finding out, okay, did anybody got a cousin in them out there? Anybody got some grandparents or whoever out there that's been impacted? What can we do to help them? And it's not just sending money. There's all kind of things, that can be done. But thinking that Twitter, these little groups on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, these little movements thinking that they're going to come together. They're not. They're not. Anyway, let's move on. Let's see. No. I said people of various backgrounds who are using their own resources to bring aid to these people. In the midst of great chaos and loss, it's always a good thing to see humanity coming together in times like this. But for the rest, y'all can stay marginalized as far as I care. It's always good, heartwarming. I mean, I was watching this older black woman break down in tears because she was just so overwhelmed at the amount of generosity that was coming from all directions of people, all backgrounds, giving her water, giving her food, giving her shelter, and all of that. And it was just a lot to take on. And you just felt her at that moment. You know what I mean? She wasn't. I didn't. FBA or them organizations weren't there. Imagine for a moment losing everything in Southern California. And let me say that again. Imagine for a moment losing everything in Southern California. These black people that we're talking about in Altadena, they were very fortunate to own their homes outright in LA. I'm just trying to tell you, they were very fortunate. You know how much a home goes for in those hills out there in Altadena, Pasadena? It's very expensive. And the fact that you have black folks who generationally were able to pass those homes down to their children and then their children's children, that was a sign and a wonder just in of itself. But now, a lot of those homes are gone. Now what? Are they going to rebuild they're going to rebuild in those same spots? I doubt it. Where they going to go in Orange County? They sure enough ain't taking too many black folks in Orange County. In Irvine? Where else? Oh, Riverside. They're going to punt them out to San Bernardino. Punt them out even further to California City. Yeah, like Juanea said, I'll just read it to her. She said, I agree that if they do rebuild any homes, those new homes are going to be so overpriced. Yes, ma'am. They won't be able to buy any of those homes. They're going to be I'm telling you. So it's not like the homes are knocked down. They just going to rebuild this. No, that ain't happening. They gone. So just imagine for a moment that was you. You were in that situation and your home was completely wiped out. And you in Southern California. And then you got Biden come around talking about, I'm going to give y'all $770. Did you read that? Biden said he's going to send these survivors a grand total of $770. What do you think that's going to do for anybody in Southern California? That's gas money for a month, if that. In many of these homes, they're multi-generational homes, meaning that you have, the grandparents, the parents, and the children, they all live in there. Because it's so daggone expensive out there. Anyway, so I'll close out with this. I said, will there be an FBA or ADS movements that stand on pointing out historical losses of black Americans to help these people in Altadena? Will those calling themselves new black media stay on their stories, or will they only stay focused on talking about what they call a racist system isn't doing? We just had a major chemical incident in a town made up of predominantly black folks in Rockdale County, Georgia. And just about all the groups mentioned in this post barely mention it at all. I said, so before some of you jump into your feelings or bomb the comment section with endless scriptures in all caps, I invite you first to point out specific initiatives by these groups mentioned who are addressing the needs of the people in Altadena. So people, for the most part, got it. Let me take a drink here. Hold on. All right, so let me get to this guy here. His name is Segment Mott. Hold on. All right, so we had a little back and forth, and I don't mind that. Listen, I don't My skin is a little bit thicker. Okay, it is thicker. I've been doing this for a long time, so I don't. A lot of times what people do is they'll read my comment and read it through the lens or the filter of their emotions and think I'm that voice in their head. But no, the opposite is true. I'm not. And so anyway, this person, they wrote there and they said, in fairness, did you post anything about the aforementioned black people, towns, or concerns? Yes, I did. If you were following this platform, you know that we've been talking about this story even before this post. So number one, you're already starting off false. I did. In all fairness, you listed one article, again, not true, from one source without reference to as when it occurred. Why is it that it's on me to give you all the links and everything on a blow by blow detail on everything that's happening in Altadena? I gave some. It's up to your lazy behind to get up and to look up the rest if you really do care and you're really interested in the story. But instead you came for an argument. So let's continue. In all fairness, what is your issue? The reality that black people's plight, news, or issues have been and continues to be manipulated and, well, here we go, and marginalized is an ongoing fact. And your position is to reprimand our response to what is put out there? Yes, it is, because you're going off on all these historical marginalizations and all this other stuff. That ain't stopping these black folks who are out there that I highlighted, who are doing something. There are black people who have been from day one who lost everything. I highlighted them. I don't know where these people come from. There were black people who lost everything and they turned back around. They said, I'm out here because shoot, what else I'm gonna do? I'm gonna help these people. That's who I'm talking about. I highlighted them. I don't understand why people just skip over all of that. Anyway, in my humble opinion, the slimmed down, pun intended, story about Fat Joe goes way beyond him and addresses the much larger narrative of anti-black racism, culture appropriation, and whitewashing of FBA culture and history. Once again, FBA is an organization. No black American, most black Americans that I know and I interact with on a daily basis do not rise up in the morning thinking or dreaming about Fat Joe. Neither do we go to bed thinking and dreaming about Fat Joe. That's y'all crazy people. That's y'all, because most of y'all in this organization got nothing better to do with your life other than to go after these old dusty rappers from the 80s and 90s that say something sideways about black folks, and now all of a sudden we're in a Beat Street video. You know what I mean? We're doing a breakdance break-off. Oh, you who brought the cardboard? We're gonna do it. We're gonna meet on MLK and 112th Street. We're gonna duke this out. It's like, who cares? Who's thinking about that? Ain't nobody thinking about no Fat Joe. I don't care about that. I don't care about that dude. I never cared about him or any of these other people. I don't care about these people. These are celebrities. Ain't it funny how we can play that clip from Malcolm X all the time? We can put it on repeat when Malcolm X was like, you got the fallacy of why black folks, or rather white people, always assigning celebrities to being black leaders. I could play that clip right now and most people are like, that's right. He telling the truth. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Be doing all of that. But Fat Joe come up and now all of a sudden, ta-da, now we got a war on our hands. I don't care about them. Don't care. And neither should you. Is Fat Joe paying your bills? Well, no. See, what you don't see, brother, is the bigger issue is that if he's allowed to say and try to take our culture, then we gotta, then what's gonna happen is we ain't gonna have any culture. Again, Negro, you do not own, you're trying to gatekeep something that you don't own. Hip hop, you don't own it. You don't own it. Unfortunately, people who were in hip hop in the early days, they made the critical error of giving it away. And like I said, who did they give it to? They gave it away to the Jews that were running that whole genre. But now all of a sudden we got white man Twitter. and we want to get up and we're going to rise up and we're going to take back what's ours. It's too late. It's too late. I'm just saying. Anyway, let's go on. He said, cultural appropriation, whitewashing FBA culture and history. Again, FBA is an organization, so you're talking about a tiny fraction of black people. So I don't know, you're conflating FBA with the rest of black Americans, and that's a bad mistake. So let's continue. Your rebuke is like saying that the black youth during the civil rights era were protesting about not getting hamburgers and shakes, instead fighting for human rights. I don't know what that even meant. I don't even know what that meant. Maybe some of y'all understands that. Just like you provide content for what you feel is relevant and important, we viewers get to respond to what it is as presented. Okay, where did I tell you couldn't? I don't understand. Your comment is still here. I don't get it. Anyway, let's move on. So I'm not going to go through this whole string. I invite people to take a look at this back and forth that we were having. And this dude or dudette, don't know who I'm talking to, was talking about literally everything else. I kept asking him over and over again, list out the specific initiatives these organizations are doing to address areas in 2025, like Altadena. And nobody's sitting up here asking them, they got to solve the whole issue. Nobody's saying that, but at least show some interest. That's all I was asking. And instead, back and forth, cameo, back and forth, back and forth. How long ago? What you gonna do? I can't hear. Back and forth. You know, it just back and forth, over and over. Didn't even answer. I kept asking the same question over and over and over and over and over again. Finally, I just got tired. Let me get to this part here. I'll just read this part here. I said, no social media built organization should be absolved from criticism. Criticism, by the way, this whole time you have not shown as inaccurate or false, but here you are. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It was just deflection after deflection after deflection after deflection. There was no direct answer. And that's all I was asking. What are these organizations doing specifically to address situations like this? That's all I was asking. Now, let's get to the more broader issue. Listen. Ooh, y'all heard that? Sorry about that. Let's get to the more broader issue. When we're talking about deflecting, one thing about our people, I can speak for black folks because I'm one of them, is that it's easy for us to criticize all these other groups, all these other people, isn't it? We can read somebody up, down, left, right, diagonally. We can do all of that. But the moment someone says, hey, listen, don't you think we should be focused on this? Don't you think we should be doing this? I don't think that was a great move that we did. What happened? Oh, nigga, what you talking about? Where you come from? What you doing? What's your rapper? What have you done? And all it just turns into that. You see this all the time in the church, amongst religious people. How many times you've heard the pastor could have been in and out of bed of 100 women, but the fact that this pastor led the followers into a prayer of repentance, these people stay loyal to these perverts, these demonic people, simply because he led them into a sinner's prayer. Or, you know, pastor was there for my family. You know, when we needed food, he gave like a gangster. We stay loyal to these people. And what it does is it prevents us from telling the truth to ourselves. We got all of this internet that we're on, all these different platforms. We're on all these different platforms. We can read each other in a comical way. We can read each other when we're talking about black men versus black women. But where exactly, even in that conversation, are we progressing in that? Or are black men and women going further apart? I was just telling Nicole the other day, I said, wow, wouldn't it be something to see a trend where black men and women were actually talking about how they fell in love and how they were able to stay married for X amount of years? That would be a wonderful trend to see, wouldn't it? Why is it that we don't see that trend? I'm just saying. But instead, we know how to tear down. But when it comes to building and saying, and someone coming, hey, wait a minute. Sometimes you do need to tear things down, but it's also good to start building up. And the only way you can build up is that you got to be honest with the people that are around you who claim that they are building with you. You understand what I'm saying? If I have a building project and I got some builders with me and they make some mistakes, I'm not going to sit up here and say, man, listen, we all engineers, we all builders. At the end of the day, we all going to need to come together and do this. I ain't going to do that. I'm going to say, nigga, you done tore up the sixth floor. It's destroyed. It's at an angle. Man, what you going to do about it? Oh, don't you say that. Well, at least he's here. He could be out in the corner hanging out. Why you going after him? You should be going. That's exactly the deflection. And what I'm saying is you cannot build as an individual, regardless of race now. You will not be able in life to go ahead. You will not be able to move forward if you surround yourself, including you, with individuals that they cannot take any type of constructive criticism at all. They can't take it. This is one of the biggest issues that many of our people have. It's true. It's true. And this is something that we're going to need to really address. Because if you can't be critical, I'm talking about constructive criticism. I ain't talking about you just saying stuff to be nasty and walking on. I'm saying constructive criticism. If we can't be constructively critical and then be a willing participant in the answer, in the solution for it, we're just going in circles. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the point of this whole portion of this broadcast. I know some of these organizations, they're doing some great things, and we shout. Anytime we come across organizations that are doing things, we always will try to shout them from the rooftops. I don't care if they black, white, or whatever. If they're doing something to help our people, we're going to shine a light on them and say, hey, listen, you need to go to them. But what I'm saying is I'm calling out anybody and everybody that will use our history as a backdrop for their own agenda, but will not address 2025 and the problems that we're already seeing unfolding in 2025. We just kind of like let that go. I'm not doing that. And we're going to call these people out, period. Let me share something with you as we close this, because I shared this video on our hotline group. Our hotline group is on an app called Threema. And on Threema, we share a lot of news that we can't share here on YouTube. But there was a video that I shared on there. I think many of you are going to find this very impactful. And let me see if I can pull this up for you right quick. I want you to hear this. I really want you to hear what this dude is saying here. I don't know who this guy is, but what he said was just so on point. All right. It's a short video. Let me put this video up here. Let's take a listen. All right. Here we go.
Most people don't know who they are.
I mean, I know my name, I know my age, I know where I live.
Yeah, that's not you, though. If you ask the average person who they are, they'll give you their name. They'll say, I'm Bob Proctor, but I'm not. Bob and Proctor are two words. My parents give them to me. They're called names, but it's not me. It's my name. Then somebody will say, well, this is me, but this isn't me either. It's my body. Like, you never phone down here to the studio and say, body won't be in today. It's sick.
Okay.
You know, we don't say am hand or am leg. It's my hand, my leg, my body, my name. Who am I? See, I think we live simultaneously on three planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, We have an intellect and we live in physical bodies.
Okay.
But because we lack awareness or understanding of who we are, we're totally locked into a physical world, and we let things outside of us control us. 95% of the population are reacting to life. They're not really living at all.
Let me play that again. I think I need to play that one again. I want to make sure you heard what this dude said, okay? Let me play that again. Because you really need to hear what he just said here. Very important.
I found most people don't know who they are.
I mean, I know my name, I know my age, I know where I
Yeah,
live.
that's not
What
you,
else
though.
is there?
If you ask the average person who they are, they'll give you their name. They'll say, I'm Bob Proctor, but I'm not. Bob and Proctor are two words. My parents give them to me. They're called names, but it's not me. It's my name. Then somebody will say, well, this is me, but this isn't me either. It's my body. Like, you never phone down here to the studio and say, body won't be in today. It's sick.
Okay.
You know, we don't say am hand or am leg. It's my hand, my leg, my body, my name. Who am I? See, I think we live simultaneously on three planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, we have an intellect, and we live in physical bodies.
Okay.
But because we lack awareness or understanding of who we are, we're totally locked into a physical world, and we let things outside of us control us. 95% of the population are reacting to life. They're not really living at all.
Wow. Very, very impactful. People in general, I don't care if you're black, white, whatever, we long to be called something. And I would say that's even truer when it comes to black folks. And I'm, when we talk about black folks, I'm talking about those of us, especially that came through the transatlantic slave trade. Because what happened was a lot of our history was taken from us. A lot of our foundation was taken from us. So we have, since day one, have been trying to figure out who we are. And so if you go through our history, you'll see that we are latched to one movement, to another, to one name, to another, to this name, to that name. The one thing that we can never forget that we have that most groups don't have is that our names, our last names, for many of us, our last names are the names of those that enslaved us. When you go to Central and South America, like, names like Martinez or Gonzalez or, some of the other well-known, what we call Spanish names. What did I just say? Spanish names. Where is Spanish spoken mainly? In Spain. Most people in Central and South America, their last names come from their enslavers too. Have you ever thought of that? That's not a Mexican name. That's not an Aztec last name, Martinez or Gonzalez or, Figueroa, no, these are Spanish names because they were forced by Christianity to convert. And part of the conversion process was to take on their names. So what you name, I've said this years ago and I'll continue to say it, what you name, you control. Let me say that again. What you name, you control. All of us are part of this thing we call the matrix, the system. This system gave us a first name and a last name. So to that degree, that system has predetermined who you are, what you're going to be, and how far you're going to go. And so what we have done, along with other people as well, we look for these other identifications because we realize there's a part of us that we say, you know what, this ain't enough. There's got to be more. There's got to be more. So I'm going to call myself a Hebrew. All right, so now I'm going to call myself an FBA. Now I'm going to call myself an ADOS. Now I'm going to call something like this. When in reality, you should be running the other way. People often ask me, well, Dwayne, what do you call yourself? What are you? Since you're not in Christianity no more, or you're not in Hebrew land anymore, what do you call yourself? I said, it ain't those names. No. I can't put a name on it, and I won't put a name on it because I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to discover who I really am. And who I am cannot be defined by this system. Just like it can't be, your name does not define you. It defines you in the system, but it does not define ultimately who you are. It doesn't. Well, I got a pretty last name. Okay, well, that's good. But it still is defining who you are in this timeline. So when you're rushing to, well, we're FBA and you hashtagging all over the place, you are confining the limitless potential of who you really are to this tiny fraction of an organization that's spending a great deal of its time doing all this mess on Twitter. Well, I'm an ADOS. Okay, that's good. And you have dedicated yourself to, correcting some historical wrongs with pursuing reparations and all of that. And as I said, reparations is a noble task, is a noble assignment. However, it still leads you back to this system handing to you what they believe you are worth. It still leads to that. You cannot get around that. So no, I will not limit myself to that. I'm not going to commit myself to that assignment. Now, other people that do, that's you. I'm not mad at you. But I will not, I've been through too much mess in my life, allow any part of this system to define who I really am, and you should be the same way. I sit back and I watch how our people just be gravitating towards, well, we're this, and brother, you lost, or we're the Chickasaw Indians, and we're the Blackfoot, and all this stuff, and you're just in this mad dash and rush to try to be rounded up in somebody's narrative. And what I'm telling you is, if you are going to move forward and be progressive and reach higher heights, you cannot allow yourself to be defined. You can't. You cannot. And I know people don't like that. For some of you, it's a scary thing to hear this, but it's true anyhow. If you want to pursue that direction, then pursue it. But don't let anybody define you. Don't let anybody define who you really are. Okay? So what I'm going to do, let me take a short break here. And then when we come back, I want to show you this video that I came across that's, you got to see it to believe it, okay? All right, so we'll be right back right after this. All right, we're back. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Here we got another one here accusing me of being a Boyce Watkins wannabe. Yeah, that's interesting. I want to be like Boyce Watkins. Man, you people like this need to stay in grade school. Who tells someone as old as you probably are saying that you want to be like him? I'm over 50 years old, bro. I'm trying to be me. You might be trying to be someone, but anyway, I'll look forward to the call if you want to call in. That should be quite entertaining. But anyway, we're going to get back into what we're talking about this evening. The second part of what we're going to talk about. If you're just joining us, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. What I would encourage you to do is, if you missed the first part of this broadcast, go back and listen to the first part, because we're just talking about some things that are very important when it comes to, as individuals. Some things that, particularly as Black folks, we're going to have to be very serious about when it comes to facing these things. Let me share something with you real quick, and then I'll move on to this next thing. Years ago, when this show came out, The Walking Dead, I said, I'm Christian then. I said, I ain't watching that demonic show. The devil is a liar. I ain't watching that thing. And I had people telling me, man, but you need to see it, man. It's got some things in there that's pretty interesting. And I was like, I ain't watching it, right? Well, here we are in 2020. Well, I started like in December, and here we are in 2025. I started watching it with my daughter. She already saw it. And she was the one that came to me and was like, Dad, you really need to see it. Oh, it's really something. And so I don't just watch any shows, right? I try to watch things from different angles. It's, there's an element of it. You like to be entertained, but I'm getting tired of entertainment. Now it's like, okay, what are y'all trying to say? What are y'all really trying to say? You know what I mean? So anyway, long story short, what I was very surprised about is that this show really isn't so much about the zombies. It's actually about how the people are the real monsters. I mean, and how crazy these people are. And I was sharing with my wife last night how it shows, and I know, like any successful show, they're going to have a team of psychologists. They're going to have a team of different people who understand human behavior. And clearly this show had it, because basically what you're dealing with in this whole plot of this show is that there was this sudden shift all over the world where people were turning into zombies because this virus came out of nowhere and turned in and got implanted in everybody. So even if you get bitten or not, if you die, you're going to turn into a zombie. And it's really something. And so the thing that really stuck out to me was really looking at the people and how some of these people were really whacked off. I mean, they were really they lost it. I mean, you want to talk about PTSD on steroids. But you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. You watching your loved ones and all that turn into the zombies, all your comforts are gone. You got to fight to survive and all this on a daily basis for years. And so the thing is, it shows when a sudden shift happens in a society, how people react. And what I'm telling you is that what we're in right now, what we're entering into in 2025, we are entering into a sudden shift in many things. When it comes to AI, when it comes to robotics, there are going to be numbers of people who are going to be completely left behind. When it comes, particularly with this AI technology, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg said that most of his software engineers in 5 years are not going to be working for him. He said basically they're going to be out of here. That's what he said. And there are many other companies that are saying that we're axing this group, we're axing that group, we're axing these people. Oh yeah, I know they, got their education and this, that, or whatever, but no, we don't need them anymore because now we got AI. Then I start looking at, CES, and I saw a video last night about the Chinese electronic shows that they have over there, because the Chinese, they're way even more advanced than what you see at CES. A lot of these driverless cars that are coming out. these 15-minute cities that they're talking about, the 15-minute cities, you notice when this conversation keeps coming up, we're going to build these 15-minute cities, 15-minute cities. You notice they're not saying 15-minute black cities. You notice they're not saying 15-minute Asian cities. You notice they're not saying 15-minute Hispanic cities. No, there's only going to be one culture, and that is going to be the culture of the technocracy. That is going to be the culture, what we're coming in. And this thing is happening now. It's happening fast. The transition is happening now, right before your eyes. If you do driving for a living, for example, it's going to be, you wait for a moment. After a while, Lyft, Uber, they're going to say, you know what? We just bought a whole stream of cars here. They're driverless. We don't need you anymore. Now what you going to do? You go to a restaurant now, they are installing ChatGPT in some of these drive-through signs. You literally just having a conversation with the software and telling them exactly what you want. And whoever's inside, they got the order and they just go by kind of what they have right now. But now they're starting to incorporate AI into restaurants now. And then the server would be like some kind of robot. It'll be some automated stuff. So there are going to be some radical changes that are taking place here. Let me see if I can, where's my phone? I shared this with the group earlier, and then we're going to get to this other thing here in a moment. And like I said, I'm going to try to have some time at the end. I welcome the phone calls. If you want to call in, you just, don't be all over the place, because I will can you in a second, in the twinkling of an eye. You may not believe in the rapture, but we do over here. You will be raptured in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. We shall not all be asleep, but we're going to see you get up out of here. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to try to set that up for you, once I finish here. But let me get this up on the screen here real quick for you. Did you know this? Who was the first to inspect Tesla's documents? Nikola Tesla, sorry. After he died, the feds, they rushed in and took all his documents. Well, let's read what happened. The first person known to inspect Nikola Tesla's documents after his death was John G. Trump, an electrical engineer and professor at MIT. He was called by the FBI to analyze Tesla's work following the seizure of Tesla's papers and equipment by agents from the Office of Alien Properties. Well, you can probably already guess that individual is probably related to someone we know. Yes, it is. Is John G. Trump a relative of President Trump? Yes. John G. Trump was the uncle of Donald J. Trump, the former president of the United States. So if you're wondering why you're seeing Elon Musk all hemmed up with Trump, now you see how this is all coming together. And if you go back to the post that I did the other day talking about how Elon Musk's dad was part of an organization known as the Technocracy organization. Their goal was to build a society that was controlled by software and robots, and to expand the borders of the United States to include Canada, Antarctica, the Panama Canal, and the Gulf of Mexico. So it's all coming together. It's all coming together. And I've seen black people on social media, this is during the elections and even after the election, saying that how they can't wait till Trump gets in office because they're going to volunteer to make these calls to ICE to report these illegals in the country. And I stopped and I said, anybody stop to think, anytime we are standing on the same side as the government, that is something to kind of take pause in. I don't know about you. That should cause you to take some pause, because the way this works is you work for them, and then when they're tired with you, they're going to kick you out. You're going to get shafted. That's how this works. I try to show this to some of our people, and they'll never get it. They get mad. They get upset. They think that, well, no, I'm going to keep on doing it because this is my country. Okay. All right, you do it. Keep on doing it. Find out the hard way. Find out the hard way. I'm just saying you need to have perspective. That's my point. Anyway, let's move on to this next thing here. Let me see. Now, we've been talking about how different religious groups, specifically, when you're talking, I'm going to say Hebrew Israelites, are very big on when it comes to judgment and announcing judgment on anything that moves. Anything at all. Anything that happens. Someone get hit by a car, that's judgment. Somebody choke on a cough drop, that's judgment. A fire breaks out, that's judgment. There's a flood over there, that's judgment. See, God ain't playing, y'all. And this is why we took the time on this platform and we went through the entire history here in the United States of the Hebrew Israelite movement. And you will see, stretching all the way back to the early 1900s, they have forever stayed on this thing where judgment is coming. Don't worry about it. It's coming. Don't worry about it. It's going to come. It's going to happen. Just wait for a moment. Meanwhile, them people about as dead as, I don't know what, as Atari 2600. And still, oh, don't you worry. And it's like you get some kind of rush off of this. And so anyway, I came across, so there was a video that I highlighted the other day of one woman sitting in her car. He was talking about these fires are judgment and you better be ready and all this stuff. And my point in that video was, why is it that every time there's judgment on America, why is it that black people are oftentimes the face of it? Meanwhile, these whole demonic people that are running Hollywood, that are running, the government and all of that, they seem to be okay. They seem to be doing just fine. They seem to get off scot-free all the time. All the time. They always get off scot-free. I actually did this little cartoon. I'm going to pull it up here. I said, the logic. Hollywood engaged in full devil worship. And they're like, yeah, bring the sacrifices. Meanwhile, right down the street in Altadena, black folks catching pure hell right down the street. But then you have this demographic. They get on YouTube from their car because they got a word from the Lord. Child, I had to get on here real quick. Y'all black folks better stop playing with God. What? You better stop playing with God. What? They better stop playing with God. Wait a minute, go back. This is what Hollywood is engaged in. But why is it that the God that you're referring to, as soon as he gets fed up with what Hollywood and the rest of America is doing, his first target is like, let me go after these niggas. I'm tired of them. They need to do more. And we take that as, well, that's him showing his love towards us. I want you to understand, I shared this in a video I did for the research group. I said, this stems from this twisted history that we have, how, the slave master, the way he would beat the hell out of his slaves and then turn around and say, yeah, now, I'm doing this because I love you. I'm doing this because I'm trying to protect you, right? And that mindset has never left us. And so every time these people, I'm talking about people that the powers that shouldn't be, that's running this thing, anytime they do some of the most horrendous things, and then there's a big fire or whatever that breaks out, and then in the news, all you see is a number of black folks getting struck by lightning and burned up and all that. We turn around and say, see, God is trying to teach us something. Teach you what? What did you do? What did they do? Some of those stories, and that's I try to show some of those stories of some of these black folks in Altadena. You talking about old sweet people, man. It was one older man. He's in his house because he was taking care of his brother who had cerebral palsy and couldn't walk. And so he determined, he said, I am not leaving his home. I know the fire is coming, but I'm not going to leave my brother here by himself. And they ended up both perishing in the fire. You had someone else that was like, they did some great things in the community and knew everybody's name and all this other stuff, gone. But yet the religious people will tell you that God ain't happy with you. What I'm telling you is that, and I know this is difficult for a lot of our people, is that this is a mindset that has to break. You're going to have to start asking these questions. It doesn't mean you hate anybody. I don't hate Christians. I don't hate Hebrews. But I hate the demonic twisting of things that keep us in this bondage where we're too afraid to ask for anything. We're too afraid to question anything. That logic does not make sense on any planetary system. It doesn't. Let me, so here, with that being said, let me share with you, someone posted this video. They're in San Francisco presenting the word of the Lord. Take a watch and listen.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that whosoever would believe in him will not perish. God says your city sat once as a queen. Now your city sits now as a whore. God says America has no friends. Therefore, God brought me here to decree judgment on America. God says your golden gate, your bridge will fall. God says once your bridge falls, your enemy will come in. America's going to war. God says if you repent, he will protect you. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob reigns. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob lives. Come out of her, my people. God showed me San Francisco is going underwater. God says there will be no more warning. I hereby decree judgment on America is hereby official. Come out of her, my people. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob lives. The God of Abraham, Isaac.
I can't take any more of that. And let me ask you something now. According to the video, she's saying she's in San Francisco. You're in downtown San Francisco, if that's accurate, what she's saying here. Right across the bridge is another town called Oakland. And I guarantee you, if she was, you notice she's not in Oakland. Because in Oakland, they would have shot her behind all the way up. Okay? Hey, in Oakland, with her own people. She know the deals, but she in downtown San Francisco. Now let's talk about this for a second. And I want you in this portion, like I said, in these broadcasts, we do take our time here. I want you, if you're in this world, and you believe that, what she's saying here, and you truly embrace that this is judgment, it's fires, earthquake, and all this stuff is going to happen because God is not happy with what's going on in America. My first question to you is, why is it that the receiving end of that judgment, and just about every time, are people that look like me? Now, some of you are going to jump to ready to write a scripture in all caps and talk about, because you disobeyed the law, statutes, and commandments. Nigga, you can't even do all the law, statutes, and commandments. So that's strike number one. Number two, when it comes to, this is something that they say, right? It's always something that we're not doing. And I've raised this point over and over again. When it comes to the amount of the people who lead the nation when it comes to prayer, who lead the nation when it comes to church attendance, who lead the nation in these areas, guess who it is? It's black folks. But even with all of that, we're still the ones that are getting struck by lightning, getting diseased up, fired up, the whole nine. Meanwhile, all these other people, they're able to do whatever they want to do with children. They want everything they want to do with money, snatch land up and everything. But we the ones that we don't, it's just, we're the ones, it's all us. I know many people, and I've said this many times, and many of you that know people, you have people in your families, that grandmother, that grandfather, whatever, went to their graves holding on to this belief. Sweetest people. But yet, all the laying on the hands didn't work out for them, did it? I'm being that person that you have run from for many of you all of your life because you've been too afraid to raise these questions. And it's about time we start asking these things. We can be respectful. Nobody's forcing you to believe anything else. I'm just simply trying to challenge many of you to start asking these things. Because we got far too many of our people going to their graves, holding on to these belief systems, thinking that even going right to their graves, believing that they were never good enough. No matter what they did in their life, they were never good enough. Never. Telling people, well, what you don't understand, see, you don't see the whole thing because, see, they may have done stuff, see, God see the heart, and, they could have been a child molester. They could have did this and that and all this other, you got to make up something. It's got to be something made up to make it make sense. But meanwhile, these the most evil and demonic people can walk the face of the earth. Let me buy these houses over here. Let me buy these cars over here. Oh, let me buy this over here. Let me buy all that farmland over here. And they just walk away. Meanwhile, we up here like, oh, Lord, he getting ready to strike us down, and we the ones got to walk around scared. See, the white man don't need to no longer build a fence around the plantation. And if you go visit a lot of these plantations in the South, after a while, they didn't need to build fences because mentally they already knew. They were already fenced in here because they didn't allow themselves to question anything. Because it was ingrained in them that they were never good enough. Maybe that's why I'm spending so much time talking about Altadena or whatever, because I'm tired of seeing black folks being used as a freaking punchline for movements and stuff, especially when black people are doing it. I'm tired of that. And so if you think that's bad enough, let me see if I can pull this up here. Because some of y'all may look at that video and think, oh, well, Dwayne, she was just by herself. That she on her own with that. And, it ain't just her. Oh, no, sir. Let's go to the comment section of that video, shall we? Let's go to the comment section. Over 110 comments. Let me see if I can bring it up for you. Because I want you to see for yourself in 4K. Let's go to the comment section. Repent. Take this warning seriously, not just for Americans, but we all need to repent. This is the video that I saw 2 days ago before I was due to take a trip to, I didn't read all that. I hear the warnings knowing it is not far behind. Please pray for my son to be delivered from the enemy that is attacking his mind, and Yah save his soul. Thank you. My eldest daughter is there in college. I never wanted her to go because Yah showed me that the destruction is coming to Cali and America. I pray you cross paths with Zoe and she will have a heart to perceive, ears to hear, and eyes to see. 3:38 a.m. I have chills all over my body. God forgive us. Warning comes before destruction. Thank you, woman of God, for your obedience unto the Almighty God. Lord, help us. Repent, America. I saw the San Francisco bridge collapsing in a dream a few years ago. Also saw bombs over America. The Lord's judgment is coming to San Francisco, California. David Wilkerson and Dimitri Duneman also gave the U.S. a terrible prophecy. The Lord is doing mighty things through his daughters. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And a lot of these people, the demographic that's spreading most of this stuff, this destruction, these judgment porn, are religious black women. And yes, I'm saying it. And I will also point out the Hebrew black men who are on the street corners. They do the same thing too. But on social media, particularly on YouTube, on TikTok, you know exactly who it is. We got to call them out too for this foolishness. As I was saying earlier, I keep going back to Altadena. You got people from all parts of the rainbow going there, you know, helping these people that lost their home and everything. They're not what they're doing is saying, listen, let me help you. What do you need? Let me get you some food, water. Meanwhile, you got people standing in the background saying, judgment is coming to you. He did this because he's trying to teach you. You better repent. How you gonna walk? If you walked up in a funeral that I was in and you did that, I hope all the pallbearers knock you out. All of them. And carry your behind out. But let's go. Now, this is the part of the conversation that's going to challenge many of you. So you better buckle up and you better hold on. And I mean this. I'm not just saying this just to say it. I really mean this. Well, I had a conversation with someone today. Name of that person or thing was ChatGPT. And I wanted to ask ChatGPT to define a death cult. Okay. I asked ChatGPT to define a death cult for me. Let me go ahead and put up the conversation here so you can see it. And then after we're finished with this, I know we're going long with this broadcast, but we will have a time where I will open the phone line up and I'll give you guys an opportunity. If you want to call in, we could talk about anything, but just stay on one point, please. Please. All right, let's go. A death cult is a term used to describe a group or ideology that is excessively focused on death, destruction, or apocalyptic beliefs. These groups often center their practices, rituals, or philosophies around themes of mortality, the afterlife, or the glorification of death as a pathway to salvation, enlightenment, or power. The characteristics of a death cult. Number one, glorification of death. Death is often seen as a noble, purifying, or essential act with their belief system. And they say examples include martyrs achieving a higher status or destruction being necessary for renewal. Number two, apocalyptic beliefs. Many death cults hold that the world will end or undergo a transformative event, often through catastrophic means. Number three, charismatic leadership. Often these groups are led by a figure who claims special knowledge or divine insight about death or the end of the world. And they say leaders may manipulate members into dangerous or fatal actions. And then number four, it says rituals and practices centered on death. Ceremonies may involve morbid symbolism, sacrifices, or discussions about mortality. And then finally, number five, exclusivity and extremism. Death cults often isolate their members and create an us versus them mentality, which can lead to extreme acts such as mass suicides or violent behaviors. And then they go to giving some examples, right? And so I said, now for your points 1 through 4, these are characteristics that are oftentimes seen in Christianity. So while it may not be seen as an acceptable conclusion by many, wouldn't Christianity be considered a death cult based on what you provided here? And then, it had to be careful with that one. The idea of labeling Christianity as a death cult is highly controversial and depends heavily on how one interprets the characteristics and definitions of such groups. While some aspects of Christian theology and practice could arguably align with points 1 through 4, and, to a certain measure, you can put 5 in there too. There are significant distinctions between Christianity as a broad, multifaceted religion and the narrow, more extreme framework of a death cult. Let's explore this. Glorification of death. In Christianity, the death of Jesus Christ on the cross is central to Christian theology. His sacrifice is seen as the ultimate act of love, redemption, and a pathway to eternal life. Christians often commemorate this through rituals like the Eucharist, which symbolically recalls the body and blood of Christ. And then they give the other one, they said comparison to a death cult. Christianity does not glorify death for its own sake. Instead, it emphasizes Christ's victory over death through resurrection. Death is viewed as a passage to eternal life, not as an end or as something inherently noble in itself. Now, in that, it still is glorifying death. Even with that explanation, it still is. Apocalyptic beliefs. In Christianity, many Christian traditions include beliefs about the end of the world, judgment, and the second coming of Christ. Apocalyptic literature, like the book of Revelation, describes cataclysmic events, but often pairs them with hope for a new, restored creation. Comparison to a death cult. While death and destruction are part of Christian eschatology, saying that right, the focus is typically on renewal, salvation, and the promise of eternal life, not on actively bringing about or celebrating apocalyptic events. Charismatic leadership. I don't have to read that. I'm just going to skip through some of this here in Christian. Let's see, rituals and practices centered on death. We could talk about like the, the communion, that kind of stuff, right? But what ChatGPT is trying to explain is trying to say, well, it leads to life, right? And then they go on and they said the primary why Christianity isn't a death cult. The primary distinction lies in intent and scope. Death cults center their identity and purpose on death, destruction, and apocalyptic goals, often to the detriment of their followers in society. Christianity, while it incorporates death into its theology, primarily focuses on life, resurrection, love, and redemption, which are life-affirming principles. But you're you literally are leaving out the fact that you can't have those things unless death takes place. All right, now let me get to this part here. So I followed up with this. I said, since the central text of Christianity is the Bible in its entirety, we must also include the Old Testament practices as well. For example, the God of the Bible, on one hand, after creation, claimed that everything he created, including the animals, were good. However, those same quote unquote good animals were subjected to ritualistic sacrifice in order that forgiveness could be extended to mankind. While Christians do not engage in such practices today, it has been widely accepted by them that such practices were okay and needed. In other words, death was needed to please the God of the Bible. When we look at the New Testament, followers are encouraged to die daily to the flesh. Although this is symbolic, we can clearly see death is still an intricate part of Christianity. It was like, you raise a compelling argument that highlights certainty of death, both literal and symbolic. Not really the certainty of death. No, I'm saying death is required. It's like a requirement for forgiveness to be extended. We all gonna die at some point. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that forgiveness cannot be extended according to the Bible unless there's death that takes place. Both literal and symbolic within the framework of Christianity, spanning both the Old and New Testaments. By examining these elements in light of your points, it becomes evident that death, sacrifice, and the concept of transformation through dying, literal or metaphorical, are deeply ingrained in the tradition. Let's explore further. I'm not going to go through all of this because I don't want to lose people with this. It goes through and it's doing. If you want to, I'll just go through this slowly and then you can take screenshots of it. But it came to this conclusion. Says your observation that death is an intricate part of Christianity is undeniable. The rituals, theology, and symbolism all reflect a worldview which death, whether it's sacrificial, redemptive, or symbolic, is necessary for transformation and reconciliation with the divine. And then, like I said, you can read the rest here. Let's see here. Now, based on our conversation so far, could you list out some examples of Black American religious groups whose belief system centers around the characteristics of a death cult? And then here it's saying, oh, you better be careful with that one, right? That's basically what all this is saying here. But then it starts naming some groups. The Nation of Yahweh, Yahweh ben Yahweh. The People's Temple, and that's, like I said, that's an extreme, right? Moorish Science Temple of America, certain splinter groups of Moorish Science, not all Moorish Science people. If I got some Moors up in here, it's not saying all of y'all like that, but it is saying that part of it is. There are elements of it, right? Black Hebrew Israelite extremist groups. Most Black Hebrew Israelites groups are peaceful and focused on spirituality and cultural identity. However, extremist factions have adopted apocalyptic rhetoric and glorified violence confrontation as part of their religious mission. Death cult characteristics, apocalyptic beliefs that may justify or glorify violence as a path to divine fulfillment. I think that's it. So what I'm saying to you is this, is that we have been indoctrinated, many of us, either through Christianity or any splinter part of it, to some degree in this society, we have been indoctrinated in a death cult ideology where death must happen in order for purification or forgiveness to be extended. That someone has to die, something has to happen, something tragic has to happen. You have to lose a loved one. You have to lose this, that, or whatever, because it's the Bible God extending his love to you. And so you have to learn to love these chains. You got to learn to love these kind of things that happen. You know what I mean? Yes, people do ultimately die. There are tragedies that happen, natural, in world, earthquakes do happen, fires do happen, all kind of things, accidents do happen. All of these things do happen. But to rush and to say that this is God's way of showing his love and mercy to you, that's something we got to step back for a second. Because once you start thinking about these things, that's very troubling. When I try to show and extend my love to my daughter and to my son, I'm not out here like, where's your kitty at? I'm gonna take your kitty and slice his head off because I want to show you just how much I love you. I'm not gonna do that. Well, I'm gonna take away your car because I want to show you how much I love you. See, for many of you hearing this, it's very foreign. And I know for quite a few of you, you are being very challenged on this because you've never allowed yourself to think these things through, but that's okay. Hopefully this will be the first of many times you hear this kind of stuff that will hopefully provoke you to start asking these things. Now, as I said earlier, I don't hate you. I don't say this out of hate because I hate these people. These people are just whatever. I don't say that out of that. I'm saying that because, man, I realized how much in delusion I was in. And I want as many people as possible to get out of that because I see what it did to me and how much time I lost. And so me getting on YouTube and doing this kind of stuff here is just my little way of hoping that people begin to start thinking about these things and start using your brain as opposed to just rattling off scriptures and not really thinking for yourself. It's okay to do that. It's okay. So I wanted to share that part. I wanted to share that whole thing with you. And, I want to open your eyes to that. When you go on YouTube, why is it that there's so many religious Black women who are out here that are so quick to pronounce judgment on anything? Is it that perhaps their home life is busted? So because their home life is busted, everything else, everybody's got to be miserable. They're miserable, so you got to be miserable too. There's layers to these things that we got to start asking. You understand what I'm saying? And we cloud this dysfunction under the name of God told me this. That's what religion does. And we got to stop it. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is give me a moment here. Let me see how quickly I can get set up here. It shouldn't take long at all. It'll just take like a couple of moments. Let me see if I can get my phone situation set up here. And I'm going to have you guys call in. Trying to think what number I have on there. Well, I'll see when I'll find out. And if you would like to call in, I'm not going to be begging folks. I'm not going to beg you. This is your opportunity. If you've been saying a lot of things, running your mouth in the comment section or whatever, this is your opportunity, or you just been watching us for a long time and you just want to say whatever, it's totally fine. Only thing I ask is that you stay respectful. That's it. As long as you are respectful, that's it. We're not going to do any drive-bys where you just yelling and then hang up. We're not going to do that. Okay? We're going to be respectful adults to each other's opinions. Whatever you choose to believe is up to you, and that's your opinion, and I have to respect that. All right? So given all this stuff we talked about, you can talk about anything we talked about in this broadcast. All right? So give me, let's see which one. Give me like 2 or 3 minutes here. We're not going to be on here too long. Let me get set up real quick here and see if y'all want to call in, all right? I'm trying to find my phone number. Hold on. Where are you, phone number? Oh, man, come on. Ooh, what is going on here? Sorry, y'all. Hold on for a second. Okay, I think I'm ready. Oh, here it is. Woo. Okay, good. Okay, I think I'm ready. All right, I'll give you the number here in a moment here. Let's see. For some reason, my I didn't even have a number. It was gone. So I'm trying to find right now. Let me see. Like I just set it up. Now I'm trying to find my number. Let's see. Calls. Oh, God, spam. Sorry, I thank y'all so much for your patience. Appreciate it. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. My device. Okay. Okay, here we go. All right. So here is the number. I'll put it in the chat. And then while we're going, if y'all want to call in, you can call in. All right. That's the number there. Okay, I'll put it there. And let me add the number on the screen as well. All right. There we go. That's the number. Now, listen, don't call if you're watching a recording of this, because once this live is done, it's done. All right. Don't call afterwards, because you're going to be talking to my cousin Tone, as in dial tone. You ain't going to hear anything. All right. So, or don't leave any messages, because I'm not going to be listening to any messages on this line. All right. So if you would like to call in, ask me whatever you want, a question, comment, whatever, clarity. This is your opportunity to call in, and you can share whatever it is that you have, and we will be more than happy to listen. But like I said, all I ask is for you to be respectful. That's it. We're going to be two respecting adults, and we're going to have a respectful conversation. That's all I ask, you know, and that's it. So the phone number is on your screen. Like I said, I'm not going to be begging anybody to call in, but here's an opportunity for you to call in if you like, and we can discuss anything that we talked about this evening in this broadcast. Okay. All right. So let me make sure everything's set up here. Just give me a moment here. Let's see. Let's see. I'll turn that on. I'm just working on some other stuff now, but yeah. Well, yeah, I'm good. I'm good on this end. Receiving calls. I'm all set up. I have a genuine question. You can call in then if you have a genuine question. Okay. So you can call in. The number's there. If you're calling and you're experiencing some issues or difficulty, you can please put it in the chat so I can know, because maybe there's something I'm doing that's not right, you know, on this end. And I can make sure technically we got everything set up correctly. I don't know why people get so scared all of a sudden now. Be laying me out in the comment section, but the moment I say, all right, let's talk on the phone, I'm gonna be respectful, it's like ghost town. But like I said, I'm not gonna be begging anybody on here to please call me. I don't do that with grown people. I'll put on some music in the meantime. You can call in. Phone number's on the screen. There you go. We got someone calling in now. Let's see. Oh, and the phone disconnected. Go ahead and try to call again. Go ahead and try to call again, all right? And I know I got people like Juan, some of the other people on here. This happens all the time, don't it? Once I open the phone lines up and invite people to call in, it goes very quiet. I don't bite. We'll give it another few moments, and then we're going to call it the evening. But I'm I'm giving you guys an opportunity. You can call in. And like I said, I assure you, it'll be very respectful. You don't have to be scared. Nobody's going to save your number so I can put it on my private line. Nah, I don't got time for any of that. All right, let's see what we got here. Hold on. Hey, caller, can you hear me?
I can't hear you, sir. How are you?
All right, just fine. Thank you for calling in. What you got for us this evening?
Well, not too much. I had a thought that my son and we had a conversation that he brought to me. And it had to do with the fires that's in California.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me, he said, Dad, he said, do you think he said, I think those fires in California is a setup to make those smart cities. I was like, you think so? He's like, I do. He's like, because with all the fires that's going around, he's like, I think they're trying to set up to make smart cities. And with the information that you brought out about where we are in technology, I was like, yeah, I can't put it past them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, just like tonight when you were saying, just like those houses and neighborhoods and things of that nature, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these cities around the country, they are really trying to find a way to get rid of, neighborhoods and things like that.
Right.
With me being from Detroit, a lot of our neighborhoods were decimated,
Yes.
And if you go to the downtown areas in most cities, they're building up their downtown areas, and there are a lot of technologies, high end, apartments and things of that nature. So I can't put it past them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, I'm not saying I'm not calling myself a conspiracy theorist. I'm more of a critical thinker.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it was just one of them things, man. I just figured like that could be a thing that they're looking into. And then if they're coming in and buying up land, whoever those people are, to come in and swoop up and buy that type of land, just think about it. It could be a possibility that they have that kind of thing in mind to want to build a type of technological city or whatever, or smart city. And, like somebody had put in the chat, that they're going to build things where things are going to be so overpriced, it's just going to price out people.
Yes,
and
right.
If you look at a lot of movies, I like to look at movies not for entertainment, but for as a case study.
Yes.
You have the Hunger Games and things of that nature where you got the higher class people where they just giving out, where they're giving the lower class people a chance to either win a chance to at a better life, or, you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. So it's just something I'm just looking at, just kind of while they're doing that, our people are out here, arguing about Fat Joes and stuff like that, and judgments and stuff. And while they're making these plans of doing things right in our faces, behind our backs, like right now, I've recently seen where they have this floating chair. It has wheels, but if you remember the movie WALL-E, that these people were floating in chairs. All they just did was so now they got those out now. I've seen a video on that.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, they're really putting it in our faces. And if we're not paying attention, it'll go right over us,
It's absolutely right. You have said more than a mouthful, but I want you to stay on because you brought out quite a few points here. Number one, what you were saying as far as they might be doing this. No, it's a blueprint. They already got it written down. The governor has already made it clear that this is the direction they're going to go as far as like making sure that the LA area is following this whole global strategy of creating these, like you were saying, these 15-minute cities. And plus you got to calculate, you got to keep in mind, LA is about to have the Olympics. I don't know when it's coming up, but it's coming up real soon. So they have every intention to make sure that LA appears to be state of the art. And that's
that's the thing my son had brought up. He said the same thing about that, how they make these smart cities within the Olympic teams. You know, everything is right there.
Now let me bring something up to you. Another point. Not just with smart cities, but also the what was it? We're talking about smart cities. What was it? It was just right at the tip of my tongue. Make it smart cities. The houses, like you just pointed out, they're not going to be affordable. I also talked about transportation as well. Did you hear about, like, in New York City, for example? My wife was just talking to my brother-in-law, and he confirmed that in New York City, they're now charging extra for people to drive downtown. And so if you go in some parts of New York City now, it's almost like a ghost town because they're trying to literally price people out from driving their own cars. Meanwhile, when you look at like CES, the Consumer Electronics show, or if you look at a lot of the Chinese technology that's coming, a lot of these cars are geared towards self-driving cars, and not just cars, but also public transportation. They want people not depending on their own senses to drive themselves somewhere. Everything is going to be driven by the grid here, and it's so important. And so with that, you know, the whole thing when it comes to transportation, when it comes to education, the whole nine, we are about to witness a major transformation when it comes to living areas. Okay, this is what I was going to say. I was telling my wife last night, every now and then we have these conversations. I told her, because every now and then she's like, I want to know what you thinking sometime. I said, you sure? And so a lot of times I like to sit back and I like to kind of like wonder. I go through these different scenarios like, okay, what if something were to happen? Where is the next 9/11, what I think is going to happen?
Right.
And so, you know, so I started going through the list in my mind. So I thought about, okay, so you remember leading up to 9/11, there were all these movies, there was all these cartoons and stuff showing the World Trade Center collapsing, and they showed the Statue of Liberty, she's halfway underwater and all this other stuff. And guess what happened? It happened, right? And so they always tell you before something's going to happen. Now, what's the next thing that's happened in the last about 5-7 years? I just mentioned earlier, I talked about a show called The Walking Dead. I also talked about, I've been talking about a show called Silo. Well, guess where both of these stories are based in? Fulton County, Georgia. And so that's the basis of it. So I start going through, I said, what cities do I think, if something's going to strike, where are they going to strike it? So I start going through, I said, New York, they already got that. New York is already pretty much set up as a, like you said, like a 15-minute city. And I'm glad you mentioned about Detroit, because I was very curious about that. Detroit, Chicago is a possibility. Philadelphia, maybe. Baltimore, kind of, sort of, maybe. But I would say, just throwing it out there, I would say Atlanta. I would not be anywhere near Atlanta. That is my own personal recommend. I've lived in Atlanta for many years. And I can tell you right now, if something of any magnitude was to break out in Atlanta, none of our people will be ready for that. Just think if the grid went out in the Atlanta region. Just think if that were to happen.
They could barely handle the snow, so you already know something major.
I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. And speaking of which, next week they're talking about there's another storm that's about to blow through and down in that area. So, but just imagine on top of that, the grid goes out. I mean, this ain't, we're talking like this, we're not being scary or anything like that, but these are the wicked people that run this thing. They do this stuff and they got plans all written out all the time. They talk about, well, we're going to take this city out and all this stuff. So it's important for people like you and me and others to have these sit downs with our families and say, hey, listen, if something were to break out, this is what we should do. And you just talk and keep it light, but also be very purposeful, because by doing that, if something were to break out, you are already ahead. Your mind is already there. You're not going to fall. The chances of you falling into PTSD or you know, you just losing it will be minimal because you've already thought some of this stuff out. But they've already been saying and giving hints and clues about where some of the possible targets going to be. And when Trump gets in office, make no mistake about it, I'm telling you, they already are talking some of these things up. So you're right. You know, smart cities. I mean, they're causing some of this stuff to happen intentionally so that they can make way for the new and all of that. They've been telling us that. We just got to make sure we're taking these people seriously.
Right. And one last thing before I go, I'll keep it short. Now, this latest. Now, if you know anything about certain movies, when they come out, you get a lot of attention. You know, if you see this movie was great. This movie was great. Like this last Tyler Perry one, I didn't see it, but I looked it up about who he made the movie about, and I got my information that way. But if you notice, the movie Civil War, that movie came and went. I have not seen a review, good, bad, or indifferent, about that movie. So I'm thinking, why? I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it's not out there. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. It hasn't been like pushed, you know. And when they were advertising it, it was very sporadic. You have to catch it on certain videos. And the movie done came out, and now you don't hear nothing else about it. So it's like, okay, so whatever happened to the movie Civil War? Are they really trying to push it? Is that something that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you don't hear nothing else about it. And with everything, like you just mentioned, that they're putting in place right now, that is I believe that's part of the agenda as well. Because now you got, like you said, with Trump coming in office, it's going to be an interesting thing to see. That's all I can say.
It is. And I would say, particularly as men or heads of our household or whatever, it's going to be very critical for us to make sure that we are having these conversations, even with ourselves. I tell people all the time, I talk to myself all the time. Conversation like I'm having right now, it looked just as weird as I don't know what, but I keep thinking through some of these possible scenarios that they have already put out and say that it's a matter of time that they're going to start rolling this stuff out. That's why I said I don't have time to be engaging in all this little tit for tat and who's this and who ain't. Or right now, I'm literally imagining like, okay, if the grid went out, none of that is going to matter anyway. You know, where you going to get food, where you going to get water. When I was talking about this show, what was it? The Walking Dead, for example, they were showing how regular people, because they were not prepared mentally for the sudden change, these people turn out to be demons and monsters. And what's going to happen, I'm telling you right now, if that were to happen, you're going to have multitudes of black folks who are going to be running up to other black folks thinking that, oh, we all together right now, and you're going to end up finding out who they really are. See, you think we all family and all that, but you get a bunch of black folks in an environment where there's a huge amount of lack. We don't even have to imagine that. Go to any ghetto in America, you'll find out what will happen. But just imagine on a larger scale, imagine what will happen. The grid goes out. There's limited food. There's limited water. And then you up here talking about it's only black people only in this house. I ain't thinking that way. I'm sorry. I'm going to be gunned up. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Ain't no question.
You got it.
You know what I mean? That's how you roll. So anyway, but good talking to you. Thank you so much for calling in. Appreciate it. You take care.
No problem. You take care.
All right now. So good conversation. Anybody else want to call? I'm here. I'll give you a few more minutes and then I'm gonna call it a wrap. I'm amazed that I made it this far, but yeah, you better get me. Oh, someone said my mic is coming in and out. Let me see. Is it just you or anybody else notice that? Let me know. But just give me a few more moments. Anybody else want to call in? Let me know. I turn the volume down. Maybe that will work. Maybe you have been thinking these things. Maybe you've been having these kind of, it's okay to think about, these what if scenarios, but do it in a sane manner. Don't listen to these death and destruction cultists out here that have you all wrapped in fear and thinking that like I said, you literally got groups out here. I'm talking about amongst black folks who are saying that they believe God is instructing them to move, to relocate their families to port cities to wait for ships to show up that are being piloted by black angels. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up, man. I'm literally not making any of this up. While I'm waiting for any other callers here, let me show you this as well. And this is why I say the futility, what culture is going to mean in this new technocracy that we're moving in. I know it's kind of choppy in how you're looking at it, but it's very smooth on my end. Take a look at this. This is all AI. Look at this. This is all AI. So now anybody, anywhere in the world can just say, I want you to take all the data that black folks have been uploading on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube for years. And I want you to take that data and I want you to add a little spin to it. And I want you to create a dance video for me with some unique dance moves that are a little bit different than what these black people have been doing. They can do that right now. And meanwhile, people out here fighting, talking about they're going to gatekeep this. You can't gatekeep this. It's over. Look at this. I'm just showing you. This technology is out right now, y'all. It's out now. All that's AI, what you're looking at. These ain't real people. This is all AI. Look at that. So someone that's I don't know, named I don't know what this is. You know, it could be someone that's Fat Joe now. He can come out with a whole series of videos of black folks dancing and do a whole channel where it shows black folks dancing, and black people will jump on that and be like, yeah, man, you see that video? And you wouldn't even know he's behind it. Because all the data that these AI systems have been scraping, we have been giving it to the system for free. And now they can do things like this. All right, well, I'm not going to, like I said again, I'm not going to sit here and beg people to call in, but that's it. Let me go ahead and turn this off here. And every now and then we do these call-ins. You saw that one person, you know, like, yeah, I'm going to call in. Of course, he gone. Go ahead and turn that on because don't be calling me afterwards. Okay, that's done. We're gone. That's it, y'all. Thank you so much. This is a long broadcast, but we covered a lot, didn't we? So I'll try to bookmark it, chapter it out, you know, as I feel up to it. But thank you so much for tuning in, you guys, to this broadcast. You guys take care, and I will see you again soon. Thank you again for tuning in. You take care now.